So now we're going to add a scoreboard to the world. And basically what we're going to do is create an actor that doesn't do anything. It's really just a label. So that's what I'm going to call the class here. So I'm not going to assign an image to it. I'm just going to say label. And I'm going to show you how to do some text manipulation here. So there's a couple classes that we're going to need to import. And one of them is the font class. Sorry, the font class. The other one is the color class. And basically what I'll do is I'll make the actor, it's going to basically be an image that I can repaint with different text, so that way I can communicate what the score is. So basically we'll start with a constructor here, public label, and I want to know how big you'd like this to be. So width and height. And that's going to basically be the construct to getting me my label. So I'll create a new image, Greenfoot image, and the constructor for that, some of these things now I'm starting to skim, but again, you can find the documentation in Greenfoot here for the image. Will tell me how many pixels for width and height that I'm using. So Greenfoot image is a new Greenfoot image for width and height. And now I'm going to set that image to be the one that I'm using. So basically now the actor has this image that's the size the person is asking for to start. Now of course I do need to get the super constructor to build me an actor before I start operating on it. Otherwise there is no actor yet, and I've called a setImage method which relies on the fact that an actor has been built. Okay, so now I'm going to add the interface so that you can start doing things with the labels. So one thing we want to be able to do is set the different text. So to set the text, it's going to look like this. It's a void method again because I'm just doing something. And there's an image method called drawString, and that's what we're going to use here. So it's this method, drawString. Okay, so the image that I'm going to use is the one that's already attached to our actor. So let's get it. Oops, Greenfoot image equals equals get image. We're just retrieving it. And now I'm going to call on the drawString method, and it's going to draw the text. Now the position is relative to the image, so inside the X and Y that it's talking about, that's the position within the image itself. So if you imagine this computer screen as the label, then 0, 0 is up here. So what you want to do is figure out where you're going to draw your text. So 0, 0, I'll make mine start at 0 for the X position, that's fine. But if I make it start for 0 for the Y, where it draws it, it's called the baseline. So I want to show you what a baseline looks like on a font. If I was to type these letters in, the baseline is this one right here. So it's like kind of like if you think about the ruler lines on lined note paper. So that's the baseline where it's going to be drawn. So any character that hangs down is below the baseline, and the rest are drawn above like that. So in my code, if I was to put 0, that means the baseline would be the top corner right up here. So everything would be above, it would be chopped off. So instead what I'm going to do is get the height of the image and drop it down by that far. So I'm going to say image.getHeight. So that's going to move the baseline down all the way to the bottom. So unfortunately in this label it is going to chop off any text that appears below. But we're going to be using this for numbers only. And since it's only for numbers, that means numbers don't drop below the baseline. So the digits 0 to 9 are always drawn above. So we'll be safe as far as keeping score in our game. Now that I've drawn the string there, this method is almost finished. The one thing that we need to be aware of though is this basically adds the string onto the image. So to make sure that everything is set up and cleared properly, you should clear it first. So basically wipe whatever's on the image off and then redraw it with a new string. Okay. We also want to be able to change the font size and color and other things. So we'll do a simple one first, like set color. Now set color, you're going to give me a Java color and I'm going to change it for you. So I'll go and copy and paste this here. So I'll get the image, and then image has a method called setColor, and we just put in C. So basically now what I've done is I've changed my image to have the color I'm using, so when I draw this string, it'll be in the color I want. We're also going to want to be able to change the font. So we can change the font face, the font size, and the font style. So public void set font. The font face is like what you know, Times, Arial, those sorts of things. So you're going to get a string face, and I'll show you how we do it here. First, what we want to be able to do is get the image, and then I want to ask that image for its font. So font, this is the old font that's currently in use. So we'll get that font out of it. Now what I'm going to do is create a new font that has this different face to it. So I'm going to go font, new font is a new font, and again I'm using the face provided, but everything else is coming from the old font. So the other two things that you put in are the style and the size. So size is like what you would think. It's the pixel size of the letters, so something like 12-point font. The style are things like italic, bold, etc. And I will show you how to call those and use those. But what you're going to want to do is go to the font class in Java to find out what things are available there. So these are all the constants that define those styles, like bold, plain, etc. That's where we're going to go when I start changing the style. And the font's obviously just a number here, whatever the size is. But face is the ones that are built into your computer. Now, not every computer has the same set of built-in fonts, but basically if you open a text editor, it'll pull up all the fonts that have been installed to your computer. So you have to be careful if you're using a special font, because it might not be on the person's computer that you're using the game with. Okay, so that's the new font, which is everything the same except the face is different. So I'm going to go to that image and set its font to be the new font. And I'm going to repeat this process here for the size and the style. So basically, I'm going to change this to be a style. And so in here, it's going to be old font dot get font name, and we can put in whatever style was given to me. And finally, this time, as I said, we'll make it change the size. Okay, so now I'm able to create labels, and I'm also able to change their color, size, and style so that I could use them in my game. So we'll just compile it, make sure everything's okay. Good, compile with no errors. So now I'm going to start using my label in the world to keep track of scores. So that means that the ocean needs to get its own scoreboard. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give a label called score to the world. So this ocean has a scoreboard, and that's where I'm putting it, is now it's available to anyone inside that class. And of course it needs to be initialized, so score is a new label, and you know, something like maybe a width of 100 and I don't know, let's say height 30. And I'm going to go in and initialize it like set font size. Why don't I use 24 to get started, and score.set text. You can play with the colors and other things, but basically I'm going to save it to be 0 when I start. And of course I have to add this to the world or no one's going to see it. So add object, and it's the scoreboard. And where I'm going to place it is up in this top right corner here. So if I get the width of the world, and then I need to back up by the width of the box. So score dot get image dot get width. You know what, I don't like how messy that is. I'm just going to move that code. So I'm going to go here and put int score x is get width minus image the image's width. And I only need to back it off by half in order for it to show up in the corner where I'm looking for it. And maybe I'll put a little bit of buffer space in there too when I back it off. Okay. So the y value I'm going to use will be basically just half the height. So score y is going to be, because it's 0 here, I just want to bump it down by about half the height. So score get its image and get that height and divide it by 2. Again, we'll put a little bit of buffer space there. So in here, I'm going to add the object, the scoreboard, to score x and score y. So now when I run my world, there's my scoreboard up in the top right corner. So now we need to make the scoreboard keep track for us, and that's happening in the act method, because what the world actually does is every time it calls act, it will check and see what's happening in the world. So what we want to know is what's the score of the shark, and that's what we'll update it to. So I'll say score.set text to be what it was before, but now I want to know what the shark's points are. So to do that, I'm going to have to keep track of the shark, and I'm going to change this slightly so that now my shark is here, and I'm going to call it the player. So instead of being just a shark that's created and dropped into the world, I'm actually going to want to keep track of what's happening to that player. So anywhere I had the player before, now I'm going to make it this private member variable. That way down here, when the actions are happening, is I can just ask the player dot get fish count, and that'll be the score here in the text. So we'll compile it and just kind of show you what's happened so far. If we run this game now, I'll move out of the way, wait for a fish. That's a little too dangerous. This is harder than it looks. Okay, there, see, score went to 1, and score goes to 2. So the scoreboard's being updated like I want. But what's going to happen is this world is going to happily continue on without me when I'm killed. And I'd like to stop it. So I'll show you how we do that. We're going to go into the code here, and basically we want to know if this player is still in my world. And the way I check is I can ask the player for the world, and if the world comes back null, it means it doesn't have one right now. It's not inside the game. So let's test it out here. If player.getWorld equals null, then we know it's game over. This is where you can also keep track of how many lives it has. So, you know, if you allow for, 3 lives or something, then it just got hit, so we would know to take away a life and put the shark back in the world. So player .get world is null. Now I'm going to make a label, game over equals new label. And with this one we want to be big, so I'll make it like 400 of width, and I'll make it, I don't know, let's say 50 of height. Maybe I'll make it a little bit, let's see. How much height do we have here? I think 500 is my limit. Let's just go 100. That's enough. Now, so that's my label, and what I'm going to do is, again, it's not perfect with the text where we're going to be placing it. It's not going to show up exactly dead center. We'd have to know a few more tricks about working with fonts, and I'll just give you a hint about how you can find out the exact bounds and things. You need to go into this font class, and there are some methods about getting bounding boxes and things like that. So you can get the line metrics to know exactly where those heights and things were. This is the line metrics here for this font, the different properties it has. So you can go and ask Java about those. You can also ask Java about the bounds for certain things like strings. So string bounds here, basically I give it a string and something called a font renderer, and I could figure out where the bounds are and know exactly what size to make it. But that's another layer of complexity we don't need right now. We just want to make the game work. So in this label, I'm going to say game over.set color to be red. We've already worked with the color class. I'm not going to say too much about it, but remember this is how you access the red constant, or the constant for red. And I'm also going to want it to be a nice big font. Set font size, so I'll make it 48. And then I'm going to say game over.set text to be game over. Okay, and now all I need to do is add it to the world. And I'll place it right in about the center of the screen. So I'll say get width of the world divided by 2, and get the height of the world divided by 2. So that is dead center in the screen, but this label is going to occupy more than is needed to draw that text, which is why it's not going to exactly appear in the middle when we do it. But again, that requires a few more tricks that aren't necessary right now. So I'll compile this, and now when I run it, I'm just going to let the shark get hit. So maybe I'll wait for a fish first, and then boom, game over. But you see, it's still happening here. So what I'm going to do is, to make the game stop, because there's no point in running it anymore, you go to the Greenfoot and you just say stop. So now the game will be stopped and we won't play anymore. So if I run it, same game. Where's my fish? Now I'm going to get hit. Everything stopped, game is over. So, there's lots of things that could be fixed and improved about this game. I'm sure there's bugs hiding in it, but for now, this is just the sort of template to get you going on your first game. So you'll have to look at our assignment together and see what's there, but basically yours is going to be very similar. You need one hero, one villain, you need an objective, in this case it's eating fish, and you need an obstacle, which in my case is the torpedoes. So it doesn't have to be an ocean world like I came up with, but anyways, you can find the details on the website. Have fun.